the first time in the history of the United Nations, we had the most inclusive group coming together around a single idea of wanting to eradicate poverty for humanity. So the SDGs is really the unfinished business of the MDGs. This time around, they realized that in order to actually eradicate poverty, the MDGs had to be expanded significantly. And so we have these 17 goals that really stretch our imagination and challenge us to really go to places that we had not been before. And so my passion with the SDGs is to really see them become a reality in the lives of humanity, because I was there, so I felt the passion, I was a part of it, and so it's not just a PDF document, outcome document for me. This is something that is very personal, because I was there and watched all the, like I said, the passions and emotions that went into in the development of the 2030 agenda. Again, it's a very much more expansive agenda. We had 8 goals in the era of the MDGs. Now we have 17. We had 21 targets with the MDGs. Now we have 169 targets. So you can see that this is a much more expanded agenda that gives us the opportunity to really do the kinds of things that we need to do on the ground, in country, in the lives of people, to really change how they live on a day-to-day basis. The targets, of course, expand the goals, and if you've looked at the outcome document, the 2030 agenda, you'll see that the targets drill down with the goals, and you have a much clearer idea of what is expected under each goal to achieve the agenda for that goal. And we have an example of goal 3, good health and well-being. What does that mean? And so the UN took the time to actually set up the targets so that you have a much clearer idea. So when you're trying to implement them, you know exactly what we're kind of talking about when we talk about good health and well-being. In the era of the MDGs, we had 48 indicators. This time around, we have 232, which gives you an idea of just how expansive this agenda is. And the indicators speak to the raw data that needs to be collected in order for us to be informed about how we need to go about implementing the goals at the local level. Why GIS? One thing that was clear to me when I wrote up the Millennium Earth Project and with the idea of how it would impact both decision makers and citizens was that we needed a visual platform, and that's what GIS is. It allows you to take data and display it on a map and graphically. And as I said before, when you're working with a population that doesn't know how to read charts and graphs and tables, a visual platform allows citizens to be able to identify their neighborhood, certain landmarks that they're familiar with, and they can engage much more effectively with both decision makers, civil society organizations that are trying to help them improve their communities. And again, GIS is this phenomenal system that allows you, especially with this massive amount of data that we will need for the 2030 agenda, to house and display massive amount of complex data. Earth observation. As we have been listening to the experts over the last 3 days tell us about the benefits of Earth observation, so I'm not going to go into that, but to be able to have a 360-degree view and from above to help us understand the terrain, where we want to develop, why we should or should not develop in certain areas is one of the great benefits of Earth observation information. And now we find out that through digital Earth that we will have data available to us and in a form that is that can be used more easily. Again, Earth observation and its benefits. Geodesign for us is the key. We really believe very strongly in geodesign, and I think this is sort of what sets us apart from many organizations, because we feel that this new tool in the GIS toolbox is just perfect for the SDGs. It's almost as though geodesign was developed to meet the challenges of the SDGs. Geodesign is really a method that includes 4 aspects: geographic information science, information technology, design technology, and most importantly, the people of the place. So for us, the ability to have this GIS information system and to have the design element to it and the information of GIS data being available so that citizens, all stakeholders, both government, civil society organizations, academia, businesses, can come together and decide how do we want to take a community forward. And so this method really provides us with a wonderful opportunity to do that. We at ICGC looked at the 17 goals and felt that the Millennium Earth Project impacted the goals on a primary level, a secondary level, and a tertiary. We felt that goals number 9, 11, and 17, of course, are the primary goals that are impacted by the Millennium Earth Project. As you are aware, one of the shortcomings of the Millennium Development Goals was that there was no infrastructure, there was no industry, there was water and sanitation, those basic elements that are needed to really move a community from where it is, especially a community in poverty, forward was what was missing. And we see the Millennium Earth Project as being able to impact those 3 goals, to provide the infrastructure that is needed on goal number 9, goal number 11 with human settlements, and of course goal number 17, which is means of implementation. And we see technology as being crucial in means of implementation. And partnerships, again, is one of the underpinnings of the whole 2030 agenda. And so goal number 17, which through geodesign brings all of the elements together, makes the Millennium Earth Project crucial to that goal. And so on a secondary level, we have goals number 8, 12, 13, and 16. And then on a tertiary level, goals 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 10, 14, and 15. And because in addressing the 2030 agenda, it's important that everyone comes together to make the decision to move the community forward. We feel that the Millennium Earth Project impact the goals either directly or indirectly, because either in the actual designing of a community or bringing the information from the community to bear in the decision making that policymakers will make. GIS helps on all levels. So we see the Millennium Earth Project as having like 8 steps. There is the collection phase where we gather a team together, we collect the data that is needed for developing a region, and then we go to work to do the geodesign of that area. I think I talked about that before. Again, the whole idea behind the Millennium Earth Project and the implementation of the goals is to really change the quality of life for people on the ground. And the 2030 agenda really delivers on that regard. But without us implementing them, as wonderful as the document might be, until we actually take our conversations down to the ground and begin to really do what the 2030 agenda asks us to do, it will elude us. And I'm hoping that we won't be looking at another agenda down the road, because we only have 11 years before the 2030 agenda has expired. We have a case study that we want to share with you. We have been working with the Spatial Information Center in Haiti to help them. Well, for us, it's a joint partnership in which they wanted to help us to help them figure out how they could move Haiti forward. As you know, Haiti has been a challenge in the Caribbean. You might not know, but there are 47 countries that have been designated identified by the United Nations as least developed countries in the world. 33 of them are in sub-Saharan Africa, 14 in Asia, and only 1 in the Caribbean. So ICGC really wanted to change the status of Haiti in the Caribbean, and so we reached out to them to see how we could use the Millennium Earth Project to help advance their development aspirations. So there's a small town in the North Department of Haiti called San Rafael, and working with their geospatial division, we gathered data. Most of it, we gathered data from them. A lot of the data that we did use for this case study is secondary data, but we did have conversations with the mayor of San Rafael, and using Google Map, we're able to intervene in the sketching out of how we could move San Rafael from what it looks like now to what we would like to see it become. So this for us is looking at goal number 3 and looking what San Rafael looks like in terms of its health facilities. It has a population of 13,000 and 1 health facility. So in gathering, looking at the data, looking at the population, looking at the projection for 2030 over 5-year spans, we looked at how we could use the data, analyze the data, look at where the population centers are, what the needs are, what the growth projections are, and decide and determine what San Rafael would need in terms of facilities in order to meet the 2030 agenda expectations. So you'll see that using geodesign, we identified where these health facilities would need to be in order to improve the health and well-being of the people of San Rafael over a 5, 10, and 15-year period. So this is what San Rafael could look like in terms of its health, meeting the health needs and well-being needs of the population of San Rafael and with the growth potentials. And so this is the kind of thing that geodesign allows us to do, to project what is possible and to identify what the needs are and to do a 3D modeling of a community so that we can have more concrete, tangible information about what that future can look like for a community. And again, this is 2050. So this is our case study of San Rafael that gives you an idea of what geodesign can do and how it can concretize the ideas that you have around the goals and targets to make it more real and plausible, not only for government officials, but for citizens that you can bring together. They can give you information about their community, what their needs are, what they would like to see happen for them, and you can begin to model it out so that you can have a good idea of where we're going. I wanted to talk a little bit about a document that doesn't get talked about a lot related to the SDGs, which is the document, the outcome document, Financing for Development. I know that a big issue around the SDGs is where do we get the money to fund the SDGs. And so I thought I would talk a little bit about the Addis Ababa Action Agenda, which is the outcome document of the 3rd International Conference of Financing for Development, which was developed right alongside the SDGs. And I think that there needs to be more conversation about that, about how we actually get the funding to make the SDGs a reality, especially for those 47 countries that are farthest behind and need to get to the goalpost of 2030 in only 11 years. So I know that most developing countries depend on ODA, which is official development assistance given by donor countries to developing countries. But a point I wanted to make where this is concerned, because I see this as a struggle for us to achieve the 2030 agenda, is that the United Nations identified around $800 billion a year that is possible to be generated from sub-Saharan Africa if illicit financial flows were addressed. ODA funding accounts for roughly $170 billion a year versus the $800 billion that's available if we address the illicit financial flows out of the continent. And so I wanted to raise this as an issue for us to look at and work together as a body on the continent to see how we can get the funding that is needed. At a briefing at the UN a couple of months ago, there was a briefing of the SG report saying that we are not on track to meet the 2030 agenda, and I know a large part of that is the lack of funding. So I just wanted to throw that out so that we look at how, as a country, as part of the African Union, and as governments trying to find the proper funding. I know that there is an unhealthy relationship between donors and donor countries, because there's a whole legacy of colonialism, and so that needs to be healed. And so this is all part of the realization of the 2030 Agenda, and really dealing with some of those issues if we are to go forward and to see Africa become the continent that we all want, the Africa we want, so that the 2030 Agenda and the 2063 Agenda can become a reality for the continent. Thank you very much.